How's it going, everyone? I'm the BTC Reaper. My goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading with the prices going up or down. Over on Dixie for the daily, we are getting a bit of a bounce. We did say this could happen, so we are seeing Bitcoin retrace in response. Remember, they have been usually inversely related, so we are seeing that inverse relationship today. Stochastic does want to push up, RSI is gaining strength here, our VWAP, that yellow wave, does want to break that neutral, and our momentum does want to gain strength. So if that VWAP can break that neutral and hold, we could see a bounce forward here. Again, that could weaken Bitcoin, but we would watch for our altcoin season possibility that we covered last night. Over on Bitcoin dominance, we could zoom out for our fixed range volume profile here, but we're well above that top. You could create another one by using the tool right here, dragging like that, and it wouldn't give you very much useful data as we really haven't had much of a range. So that's why I have not drawn one yet, but our RSI is heading down, momentum is weakening, that VWAP does have higher lows, so that is positive. If we can get higher highs here and then stay above that neutral, momentum could bounce, our money flow could strengthen, and then Bitcoin could do better than altcoins. But if we continue to see that VWAP reject here, we likely would see altcoins perform better than Bitcoin. Over on our total, remember this is the market cap for all of our altcoins. Our VWAP is in the bullish territory, momentum is gaining strength, money flow is breaking forward, so we do look positive. Stochastic is heading up, and our RSI is gaining strength, but I would watch as that Stochastic is pretty overbought. It won't say overbought forever, but it could last here for a while. So remember, if this pushes up, altcoins likely will continue forward. I would watch for that break of that 602 and then the push into our golden pocket, that blue zone right here on that Fibonacci retracement zone. If we can break through that golden pocket and hold, that would be where we could continue along our double bottom possibility for altcoins. Over on Bitcoin futures for the daily, we will gain lower time frames once we get in here in Bitcoin. Stochastic does want to round away, our RSI is pretty flat. VWAP is starting to push down, our momentum does want to round, money flow is pulling back. We do have a bit of a rising channel that could be forming here, so I would exercise caution. We have pretty flat bottoms and tops that do connect. So if we continue along this, that would be more of a bearish pattern. Remember, we cover that in the Mastering the Trade, link in that comment. So we are pushing to that 61K. We do want to kind of reject here. I would watch. If we break that green line, our value area low of our fixed range volume profile, then we could potentially push to our 57K. VWAP is pulling back, Stochastic is rounding away, RSI is pulling back, momentum is rounding, and that money flow is favoring bearish. So I would exercise caution. Over on the 4 hour, we did hit that 300 EMA, that black line, and we did see our rejection. We are starting to get lower highs and lower lows, so that could end up bringing us down, and we could end up seeing a break away from this pattern. Our momentum does have a bearish divergence here, that's that red line highlighting. That could end up breaking it down as that VWAP favors bearish, and that is causing money flow to deepen in the red. If that money flow continues to weaken here, we will see the daily weaken as well, and futures does lead Bitcoin, so we would see Bitcoin weaken as well. Over on the 2 hour, we did retest our 300 EMA, but we lost it again, so I would exercise caution. If we get below our EMA band and hold like we tried to do back here, then we could break out of our pattern and see that push down. There is still a chance we stay in our EMA band and we push forward. That is where you want to watch for your confirmation. Remember, trade on confirmation, don't just go in because you have a feeling. Stochastic is pulling back, RSI is starting to pull back, VWAP does have lower lows and lower highs, so we do have a bearish trend here and we are favoring that bearish territory. If this continues, momentum will continue lower, money flow will start to go from green to red, and that will show that we have more selling than buying pressure. Over on the 1 hour here, we do have a bounce off our 300 EMA, so that is positive. I would just exercise caution because we are struggling on those higher time frames. If we cannot stay above this EMA for tomorrow, then we are likely going to break down. However, if we do stay above this, we would have a chance of fighting against that EMA on the 2 hour. RSI is pulling back, Stochastic does want to round, VWAP is starting to pull back, watch that very close. If it breaks bearish and holds, we likely will see momentum remain bearish, money flow will reject across to the bullish side, and that will weaken higher time frames and cause a push to the downside. So over on Bitcoin for the daily, we are seeing a similar rising channel that we do have on futures on lower time frames. We can get into that. We did mention that in our Discord though. Stochastic is rounding away, RSI is pulling back, VWAP is rounding, momentum is breaking bullish, but watch that VWAP. If it continues to drop down here, momentum will follow and money flow could fail to make that bullish cross. Over on the 4-hour, we did reject our 300 EMA twice, so again, exercise caution. That's a strong level. That takes 300 4-hour candles, so that's 1,200 hours in order for that to move. Stochastic is pulling back, RSI is starting to push down, momentum is rounding, our VWAP is favoring bearish, and money flow is bullish, but I would watch that VWAP. If it continues to favor bearish here, momentum and money flow will break, and that will result in price action weakening. Over on our 2-hour here, we are trying to hold above that 300 EMA. We are currently failing to do so, so I would exercise caution. Momentum is breaking down, that blue wave, VWAP does want to reject our neutral, so I would watch. That could end up breaking money flow down, which will bring price action lower and give us that possibility of that rising channel breakdown. RSI does want to start to curl away, so if that stochastic does not bounce, RSI could lead price action lower. Over on the 1-hour here, we are failing to hold above our weaker EMAs, those lower EMAs, so watch for them to start to sell off. If our EMA band starts to round back down, we likely could get our 300 EMA above us, and that could give us that bearish strength. Stochastic overall is pushing down. I would watch that is leading RSI and price weaker. VWAP is favoring bearish, momentum is rounding with a red dot, and money flow is bullish, but if that VWAP cannot sustain above that neutral area, we will see that money flow reverse soon. So over to graph for the daily, we did continue our bounce. We got about half of our break forward. We will delete this at this point. Remember, don't go for the max pain or the max gain. You can end up getting wrecked either way, and I'm not clicking the right things. There we go. So now we are above our EMA. This does look positive. Stochastic does want to round. RSI is pushing forward. VWAP is getting higher highs and higher lows, so we do have a bullish trend here. I would just exercise caution if the rest of the market sells off. Our momentum is pushing up. Money flow is gaining strength. Again, with that dollar index doing better, we could end up seeing total reverse. Right now, it's just doing better than Bitcoin. Stochastic is pulling away on that 4-hour. I would watch if that maintains. We will continue to drop. RSI will continue to weaken and price action will reverse. RSI is starting to push down. VWAP is favoring bearish with lower highs and lower lows. We did break that neutral. If we stay below, we will see momentum and money flow weaken. So remember, if you have any comment or any questions or anything you want to cover, drop it in the comments. But on the 2-hour, we are above our 300 EMA. Stochastic is dropping down. RSI is pulling back. Momentum is rounding. That VWAP is breaking for a lower low after getting a lower high. So I would watch for a rejection. If we reject that neutral and fail to cross, we will likely see momentum drop and bring money flow weaker. That will result in higher time frames weakening and price action starting to sell off. Over on the 1-hour, we are running up pretty decently. I would exercise against any kind of rising channel to form. Right now, this is more of a bullish continuation, though, because the highs and lows do not connect at this point. RSI does want to pull back. Momentum is rounding. Stochastic is starting to sell off. VWAP does want to break down, and money flow is starting to round, so I would exercise caution. If that VWAP breaks bearish and holds, we will see momentum continue to weaken, and money flow will start to follow. So over on Ankr for the daily, we do have the same pattern here. We do have some indecision just above that support area, so I would exercise caution and watch those lower time frames. Stochastic does want to round away. RSI is starting to pull back. VWAP is rounding. Momentum is pushing forward. Money flow is bullish. So we do look like we want to continue forward, but if those lower time frames start to reverse and hold, we will end up breaking down. We do have a long upper shadow candle on the 4-hour. That is more of a bearish indication, but we're following this with a green candle and breaking resistance. This could have us set up to push toward that 300 EMA, so this could be positive for us. Stochastic is starting to sell off. RSI is pushing forward. Momentum is rounding. That VWAP is breaking down. Money flow is starting to round away. If that VWAP continues to break down, we will see momentum and money flow continue to weaken and lead price action lower. Over on the 2-hour, we are kind of jumping around. We do have a gap to the upside, so we may jump up, fill that gap, and that's where you want to watch if we reject. If we reject that 27 gap, then we could push down. However, if we fill that gap and then continue away from this channel, we could see an invalidation and a push forward. Our RSI is pretty flat. Stochastic is favoring bearish. I would watch that close. VWAP is favoring bearish. Again, watch that. If it does continue getting these lower lows and lower highs favoring bearish territory, momentum will continue to weaken, money flow will reverse, and higher time frames will be affected. Over on our 1-hour, zoomed in a little too far, we are seeing a bullish cross of our EMAs, and that did help push us forward, but remember that is lagging. I would exercise caution on trading on it now. This could be set up to be a long lower shadow candle though, so if followed by a strong green candle, we may have that push up to fill those gaps, and then that's where you want to watch if we can hold. RSI is starting to weaken, stochastic is rounding, VWAP is pulling back, momentum does want to reject that neutral, so if VWAP breaks that neutral, momentum will sell off and money flow could start to lose strength, so watch for that very closely. Over on XRP for the daily, we are pretty flat here overall. We could somewhat make that flag case scenario where you have that consolidation range, and we could just call this a freak breakdown. Remember, sometimes the whales do try to manipulate price. They try to make you think one thing's going to happen, but another does happen. That could give us the possibility to break above that 80 cents resistance, but remember, we do have several resistances above us that we need to hold above first, and you don't want to just blast off, because if you do get a retracement. Here we blasted up, and we did retrace some of that. Stochastic does want to round here, RSI is pulling back, momentum is rounding, VWAP is pulling back, that money flow is bullish, but I would watch that VWAP very close. If it weakens on lower time frames, we will see money flow start to reverse. Over on the 4 hour, we are starting to round away. That EMA band is starting to get a break, so I would watch for that green to cross under blue and then continue to sell off. If that does happen, we could make that push to our 57, retest that again, and if we cannot hold that, I would watch that 300 EMA. RSI is pulling back, momentum is rounding, VWAP is favoring bearish after failing to hold bullish, momentum is weakening as a result, and money flow does want to pull back, so the 4 hour doesn't look like it's standing on too solid a ground there. Over on the 2 hour, we do have a manipulation X that does want to bring us lower, so I would watch. We also have a bearish cross of our EMAs. RSI is pulling back, stochastic is making a rejection and selling off, VWAP is favoring bearish, momentum is pushing down, and that money flow is starting to weaken. So again, I would exercise caution, watch that VWAP close. If it continues to favor bearish, we likely would break down. Over on the 1 hour, RSI is starting to pull back as that stochastic is failing to hold above 30. Remember, 30 is neutral, and then below is bearish. VWAP does have a higher low, but we're failing to get a very strong high. I would watch very close. If we make a lower high followed by a lower low here, we will see the bears gain control and push us to 57. However, if we do maintain our flag range, then we do have the potential to push up. Remember, you usually get like 2 touches to the top, 3 to the bottom, or 3 to each. So we do have 2 touches to the bottom technically with that break. We do have 2 touches to the top, 3 if you want to count these wicks. So if we do not break at the next touch to the top, that's where bears could manipulate us lower still, so I would exercise caution on that. But again, just watch for a break and a hold of that pattern. If we see that, then that won't happen likely. So finally, since there's no requests in chat, over on ALGO, we did fail to break that 1350 and hold. We're kind of flirting with it just above it, but I'm going to say this isn't a very confident break. Stochastic does want to round, RSI is starting to pull back, momentum is rounding, VWAP is starting to push down, money flow is bullish, but with that VWAP starting to round away, I would keep an eye on things. Over on the 4 hour, we are holding above our support area. We do have a consolidation after a breakup, so that could create a bull flag. But again, we do have a very quick run up, and usually a quick run up is retraced by a quick drop down, just like a quick drop down is usually retraced by a run up. Momentum does want to round away here, stochastic is pushing down, VWAP is favoring bearish with consistent lows and weaker highs, pushing momentum lower and causing money flow to lose some steam. So I would exercise caution and watch that VWAP very close. Over on the 2 hour, RSI is overall pulling back, momentum is rounding away, that money flow is bullish but starting to round, so I would watch. As stochastic is pushing down and our VWAP is favoring bearish. Again, if that VWAP favors bearish and holds, we will see momentum and money flow continue to weaken, and that will bring price action lower. Over on the 1 hour, we do have that flag possibility here as well. We could have 2 touches to the bottom, 2 to the top if you do draw out here, but I would just exercise caution. If you draw out here, your pull is way shorter. So RSI does want to pull back, stochastic is starting to round away, money flow is weakening, that VWAP does want to break that neutral, so watch that VWAP close as it did break bullish after getting a lower low and failed to get a higher high, so we do have lower lows and lower highs here. That is bringing momentum weaker and causing money flow to sell off, so if that VWAP continues to favor bearish and then cannot cross back above, we likely will see a correction. Thank you for watching tonight's video, I appreciate all of you, have a great night.